Egypt and the Muslim Brotherhood are now part of the whole situation.
I know.
Okay, this is Oldecam.
And this is not a spring chicken. If you've been watching the news, of course, you can't not watch the news without hearing about Egypt and the Muslim Brotherhood.
Yeah, well, the Muslim Brotherhood, who they said no one had anything to worry about, it turns out that they're providing food and money for as resources for the people that are out there. And even though they've been banned, as of this morning, the Muslim Brotherhood are leading the discussions for the movement to replace Mubarak. Isn't that a good one? So much for Republican pundits and their party leaders. Well, this isn't going to happen because it's a liberation movement. No, 250,000 people out of an 80 million people country is not a democracy movement.
But you know, sometimes I think people get a little, let's just say, I wouldn't say the word is misled, but a lot of times when you're watching the news coverage, you think, you know, for example, like what you see on TV, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's happening all over the place. It could just be in that one area.
It's just Alexandria's got smaller. Alexandria's basically got more thugs destroying things than they do in Cairo.
And it also doesn't mean that just because it's going on, doesn't mean, well, let's just say, not that one party or another will plant people to do uprisings.
Yeah, well, that happens all the time. Republicans and Democrats do it to Republican meetings. I mean, look at the Tea Party thing, where you'd see, you know, Nazi signs and anti-Obama signs, you know, about, you know, the hanging, you know, and then they find out they're actually members of the Democratic Party. But and then it's not. It's also that basically the other people, one party or the other, will actually plant people in there to get thrown out, because they want it to look like they're being invaded by the other party. So that's politics. But
don't they say all is fair in love and war?
yeah. But the way it worked was our revolution. The people virtually, you know, what happened was the people that didn't want to be part of the revolution went back to England. That's how it worked. There was very few people at the end of the war that didn't want to be separated from England. But they said that there are probably no more than 300,000 or 400,000 people total in Egypt that want the government changed.
300,000 or 400,000 out of how many?
80 million. So, you know...
is this where the squeakiest wheel gets...
I know. What happened is the guy... we use an analogy from MASH, who maybe some of you people didn't remember, but they had a gentleman called Father Mulcahy, who basically kept getting passed over for promotion. And finally, he did something, that basically got attention. He said, well, the meek may inherit the earth, but the loud and obnoxious get the promotions. Yeah, that's the way it works, is that the majority of the people in any country are basically happy with the political situation that's there. They just don't want to change it. And it's the way it is in Muslim countries. I mean, okay, they know in a Muslim country you're going to trade one dictator for another dictator. There are no such thing as Muslim democracies.
Why not?
Because it's a one-party rule in every one of the democracies. You know, like Hamas wants to be, if Gaza was to turn over to the Palestinians, it would be one-party rule.
Right.
In Egypt, they have elections, but it's one-party rule. In Kuwait, they have elections, but it's one-party rule. In Egypt, they have elections, it's one-party rule. That's their idea of a democracy in those countries, is one-party rule. I mean, that's why, don't remember, we have the first Muslim president in the history of our nation, and what was it for 2 years?
What?
It was one-party rule.
Oh, that's true. It was.
You know,
and when we're talking about one-party rule, we're talking about the House, the Senate, and the executive branch.
And the judiciary.
Oh, and the judiciary.
That's right.
Okay.
So, like here, they're like the Democrats are grumping about the Tea Party. They're saying that the Tea Party needs to look at the democracy movement in Egypt and see how a civil discourse is
but here's the
conducted.
funny part, is what they've been talking about the Tea Party is they're talking about how violent the Tea Party has been.
I know.
Right? Coming in on, with their canes and wheelchairs.
Their canes and their wheelchairs. I mean, I heard, one actor that I somewhat admire, because the guy is really a super nice person. He said that he took his father with his walker to the thing, and all he did was get spit on by members of the press. You know, that we know that you hate Obama, we know that you admire Nazis. The guy is basically one of them. You know, he's a Democrat, but his father is like 80-some years old, and he knows his father wants to change. So he said he wants to change. He said, You know, he's a liberal Democrat that says you gotta stop spending, so he took his father to the Tea Party and got nothing but harassment from the people on the left in the press. And he got harassed when he came back. Why were you there? You know how they want to destroy our nation. And he's sitting there like with, what, were we in the same spot? You know, a bunch of old guys with their canes, you know, they're basically almost falling over going, shaking their canes at people.
No, come on, not all of them are like that.
Okay.
There's just a
No,
lot
but
of
this
them.
is the typical people. They're just people, they're old people that know they're going to get screwed. They're younger people that know they're going to get screwed, and then there's the ones in the middle that can't do anything about it. So, I mean, the way it works is, no matter what happens, the people at the top and the bottom are going to lose. And the people in the middle want to remain in status quo. So, it's just like, my guess is, okay, I saw a thing yesterday on the news. They said Mubarak has like a 79% approval rating in his country. 79%.
That's pretty high.
79%.
I thought it wasn't that high.
No, he's got a massive approval rating because he's kept the country out of war. You know, but what happens is they want him. What happens in a Muslim democracy is you basically don't have people leave by elections. You have people leave through the back door. That's their idea of a democracy. And then, well, the British government has a weird democracy. Every 30 days you can throw the government out of power.
Wow.
Every 30 days.
Keeps you on your toes, doesn't it?
Yeah, but if you lose a vote of confidence, you get bounced out. That's why the last prime minister, even though nobody liked him, you know, was it Gordon Brown, I think, wasn't it? He refused to have a vote of confidence on him because he knew the first time he had it, he would change cabinet ministers, he changed this, he changed that, knowing the whole country was against him. So then what happened? They put the new one in. The new one's on the verge of being kicked out because they don't have any money, and the same problems that existed before him exist now. There's no money. You can't put people to work if there's no money and there's no jobs.
Well, you know, part of it is they'll say, you know, that the change takes time, whereas people often want things instantaneously. I mean, they're watching TV and, you know, this 15-second commercial. It doesn't, I mean, a whole country, you can't really just change it overnight.
But you can if, okay, we'll put it this way. We're going to try something. Glenn Beck's rally, which was basically, I mean, I'll guarantee you that the Obama administration paid the bills for it.
Why?
Well, because Glenn Beck is the bad cop for Obama to work off of. Okay, you've got, if you're somebody that is disliked by one organization, which is the people on the right, you give them somebody to be the cheerleader that you can control. Glenn Beck would not be allowed to be on the air on any network or any radio station in this nation if he was for real. They'd get rid of him because there are rules, and he violates the rules. I mean, okay, the guy is about as religious as Monty is. I mean, he's got all these religious figures that come on to try to do that. He talks about Nazism, he talks about atheism, he talks about all of this stuff.
Talks about all of them.
He talks about all of it, but you know, you can't offend. I mean, Howard Stern knows how far he can push.
Yeah.
And he will not go beyond that. We'll put it this way, on a daily basis, Glenn Beck pushes that and goes over the top. You would not have him on. You would fire that person because you know that sooner or later...
You mean they don't just keep him on for the ratings?
They would if he were for real. But, you know, he is so far to the extreme that you cannot have that person on the air. I mean, Rush Limbaugh knows how far he can go. Sean Hannity knows how far he can go. But Beck, he pushes it and he goes over it. And they would basically, he'd be in court so much of the time. Like Soros, you don't think that Soros, who continually looks like he's going over, wouldn't get him off the air? The guy controls so much advertising content, the network couldn't survive.
Soros?
Yeah, he could shut down the ad revenue for the Fox News. That's when you're a multi-billionaire and you deal in money and people have to come to you for money, you can shut down things. But Soros basically doesn't even sue him over defamation of character, doesn't sue him for slander, doesn't do any of this.
I see.
Supposedly he pays $1 million to have people go to work for public broadcasting, our national public radio, that are going to investigate Glenn Beck. What's there to investigate? He's a loudmouth that basically has a staff that digs up all these little unique things in history that people never heard of. But he wouldn't be on the air. And I mean, there's freedom of speech. Okay, the way when Mark Twain, your freedom of speech ends where my fist hits your jaw. That's what they call freedom of speech. Beck does not own the presses. Beck is a hired gun, and Beck is still on the air. So my father would have played that. Beck would have been the bad cop, because Beck has nothing good to say. I don't mean for you people, to boycott this. I don't mean for you people to not like our president. I don't mean, certainly he means it. That's why he says I don't mean it.
Mm-hmm.
But his rally had like about 400,000 to 600,000 people. That's just people coming out to have a good time, folks. They can't get more than 200,000 at a rally in Egypt, and there's very few women out there. So it's basically it's a middle class college graduate unemployed bunch of guys out throwing fits about not having jobs. So that's all it is, and these people do not start a revolution, because they won't even take part in a revolution. I mean, do you think that one of them would pick up a gun and use it if they had to defend their country? These are the guys that want to avoid the military draft. But Ronald Reagan, this is the 100th birthday of Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan used to routinely have a couple of 100,000 people when he was governor of California throw a fit about the wars and everything. That was just on a good,
just a normal basis.
A normal day, he would have a couple of 100,000 people come out.
So wait a minute. So are you just like poo-pooing the whole thing in Egypt?
Well, yeah.
I mean, they're totally overthrowing the government and everything's changing.
They're basically, but this is, go read history books, folks. Go watch the past. That's how they overthrow. Anwar Sadat was overthrown by the Muslim Brotherhood with grenades. Here they're overthrowing him with social media, the Iraq. So
well, and did you notice that there's, of course, nothing uncommon about the timing with Egypt and some other countries?
They're all doing it at the same time.
Such as Jordan.
Everybody is doing it at the same time, and none of them have huge rallies. I mean, it's just a true democracy movement is where you basically have massive amounts of people come out. In a country of 80 million people, and the best you can do is 200,000 to 300,000 people at a rally. That's not very good. My guess is a guy on a soap. Benny Hill, if he was alive in England, could probably get 300,000 people to come to Wembley Stadium to watch him, making fun of, one of the members of the Who,
What do you think most of the problem is because of violence?
There's violence. There's no violence. I mean, that isn't even a good violent revolution.
Oh.
I mean, that's not even a good union meeting.
Ah.
So it's a fraud. I mean, they also said, they said if it was serious, Obama wouldn't be out talking on television about it.
Oh, really?
They'd be doing it all behind the closed doors, trying to fix the problem. Instead, he's out there in front of television saying, you can't do this. Like he's trying to support